Hello and welcome to Back to Life's Guide to Understanding the Markings on an Oxygen Cylinder. Whilst you watch this video, please keep in mind that depending on the size, manufacturer and type of cylinder you have, your cylinder may not look exactly like the ones we provide for our customers and those used in our examples. However, it's extremely likely that this information will also be stamped onto the neck of your cylinder, or in the very least noted on its paperwork. At some point you may wish to identify the manufacturer and serial number of an oxygen cylinder. This is often the first set of information stamped on the neck of the cylinder itself. In this example we see GB, which indicates the cylinder was manufactured in Great Britain. Luxfer 900 means the company that manufactured it are called Luxfer. And finally, the model number for this cylinder is 900. The next set of information is the serial number, which often follows the manufacturer and cylinder model discussed a moment ago. In this example, our serial number is M949317. This information will also be noted in the original paperwork for the oxygen cylinder. In this section, we will be identifying the markings that indicate the various test dates on the cylinder, as well as the oxygen expiry dates. It is important to regularly check that your cylinder is within its scheduled test date. Typically, an oxygen cylinder must be hydrostatically tested every 5 years. When this is done, the engineers stamp the test date into the bottle itself. In our example, this date of testing can be found on the third row of information towards the right hand side. Here we see that the cylinder was manufactured in September 2007, so it must be tested again in or before September 2012 to remain in date. An oxygen cylinder will last many years and go through several retests throughout its life. When a retest is carried out, the engineers servicing the cylinder will restamp the cylinder with a new test date. In addition to stamping a new date, the engineer may also file away any old test date information. Here is an example of a cylinder that has been retested. Note how the engineer has stamped the new date of July 2011 into the neck of the bottle. Therefore, this cylinder must be retested again on or before July 2016. Whilst the cylinder itself lasts 5 years between services, the medical grade oxygen contained within will typically expire after 3 years. After this point, the cylinder will need to be emptied and refilled. Once an oxygen cylinder has been refilled, you'll be provided with a certificate indicating the date it was refilled and the date of expiry. In addition, as in this example, a sticker may be added to the cylinder showing its refill and expiry date. You must regularly check that the oxygen supply is within its expiry date. Oxygen cylinders must also be refilled if the oxygen has been used or allowed to escape the bottle to ensure there is always the maximum amount of oxygen available. This third section will look at using the markings on the cylinder to determine the oxygen capacity of the cylinder and how long it can dispense oxygen for. The capacity of the cylinder will be stamped on the neck of the cylinder in litres. This is known as the minimum water capacity. If you were to fill an empty cylinder with liquid, this is the minimum amount of liquid it would hold. In our example, you'll see that the water capacity for this cylinder is 1.70 litres. The next piece of information to note is the working pressure of the cylinder. This is the pressure in bar at which oxygen is released from the cylinder. Working pressure may be marked in several different forms depending on the type of cylinder. Working pressure may be marked as PW or WP. Both of these carry the same meaning. It can also be marked as CP or charging pressure. In our example, you'll see the working pressure is noted as PW200, so this cylinder has a working pressure of 200 bar. The water capacity and working pressure of the cylinder can be used to calculate how much oxygen the cylinder contains in litres. To calculate oxygen capacity, multiply the minimum water capacity by the working pressure. So, for the cylinder used in our earlier examples, 1.7 multiplied by 200 means we have 340 litres of oxygen in our oxygen cylinder. The primary determiner in how long the oxygen cylinder will last is the flow rate you choose. Modern cylinders have variable flow valves with several choices of flow. You can divide the flow rate by the cylinder capacity in order to determine how long a cylinder will last when it is in use. In our example, dividing a flow rate of 10 by our capacity of 340 means our oxygen cylinder will last for approximately 34 minutes before it runs out. We have chosen a flow rate of 10 as this is the rate that you would normally use in a medical emergency when administering oxygen. As a guide, dental practices and GP surgeries are advised to have 30 minutes of oxygen available, so this size D cylinder is ideal. It is also important to check that the valve on the cylinder has been regularly maintained and is within service. Similar to the hydrostatic test discussed earlier, valves must be serviced every 5 years. Handily, the date of expiry is noted on the valve itself. In our example, the valve is due to expire in July 2016. Ordinarily, when carrying out a hydrostatic test, the engineer will service the valve at the same time. Thank you for watching our guide to understanding the markings on an oxygen cylinder. The cylinder used in our examples and all associated medical emergency equipment and supplies are available to order from Back to Life. We can also advise you on having your oxygen cylinder refilled or serviced. Our contact information is shown on screen. Feel free to visit our website or contact us if you have any questions. We also specialise in a range of first aid and resuscitation courses. Our courses can be delivered in-house at your home or business, or you can join us for one of our open sessions. Information on all our courses can be found on our website. We hope you found this video useful. Thanks again for watching and keep an eye out for Back to Life's future videos and help guides.